Recently, the Supreme Court of the United States of America, which is where I live, ruled in favor of somebody who wanted to carry a concealed gun in New York. And if you think about it, carrying a concealed weapon is actually more dangerous than openly carrying a weapon, because if you can openly carry a weapon, people know that you have a weapon. But if you're allowed to carry a concealed weapon, anyone could be carrying a gun, and you never know who has one. And shortly thereafter, they ruled that the state of Maine had to provide financial assistance to parents who wanted to send their children to religious private schools in the state of Maine. And they also overturned Roe versus Wade, which I'm sure you have all heard about on the news. And shortly thereafter, they ruled that coaches have the right to pray in front of their students in United States public schools. And after overturning Roe versus Wade, one of the judges said that they should reconsider cases covered by substantive due process, because that was the technicality that they actually overturned Roe versus Wade under. And he mentioned rulings, some going back almost 100 years, based on that same substantive due process that legalized interracial marriage, married couples having the right to access contraceptives, gay marriage, and couples, whether they were married or not, or gay or heterosexual, having the right to perform certain sexual acts in their bedrooms without the government prosecuting them for doing those acts. And that's what most people don't understand about the Roe versus Wade ruling. So without further ado, I am going to predict what the U.S. Supreme Court is going to do in the future, because they are going to overturn court rulings that have been used as precedents that entire U.S. legal systems are based on in every single case they rule on for the next year. So on Wednesday, they are going to rule against veterans' rights and also weaken Congress's war rights by ruling that U.S. veterans can be legally fired when they're employed by state or federal government agencies. And they're going to weaken the Clean Air Act by ruling that Biden cannot reduce carbon emissions from factories, and their ruling may possibly derail the entire Clean Air Act and make a bunch of laws that are currently on the books invalid. And they're going to rule that the U.S. government can prosecute Native Americans for crimes they commit on reservations, which will basically make a bunch of reservation governments and tribal law invalid. And they're going to rule that the U.S. government can deport immigrants from any country that try to immigrate to the U.S. through Mexico back to Mexico, regardless of their country of origin, which will allow the U.S. to dump a bunch of immigrants from a bunch of countries who are trying to get into the USA in Mexico. And because they probably can't go back to their home countries, this will effectively strand them in Mexico indefinitely and put a huge strain on the Mexican government, who's now most likely going to have to deal with the consequences of this situation. But wait, there's more. Those are only the court cases that they're supposed to rule on the day after tomorrow. Within the next year, they're going to derail the Clean Water Act by ruling that wetlands are not legally constituted as waterways. So wetlands will not be subjected to protections that other waterways are subjected to under the Clean Water Act. And they're going to rule that businesses and individuals are legally allowed to discriminate against homosexuals and God knows who else, and they can legally put up signs or statements on their websites saying that they will not provide services to homosexuals and God knows who else. And they are going to rule that if you look at a picture somebody took and paint a painting of it, that you can legally be sued for copyright infringement, and that the society responsible for managing Andy Warhol's estate has to pay God only knows how much money to a person whose picture he painted paintings of years ago. And they are going to rule that banks only have to make one report or can only get fined one time, regardless of how many times they violate the Bank Privacy Act. And they are going to rule that it is legal for Child Protective Services in the United States of America to take away children from Native American families and adopt them out to white families. And they're going to rule that New York police can police certain areas of New Jersey. And they're going to rule that California either cannot ban pork imports from other states where pigs might have been housed in cruel conditions, or that California has to pay compensation to pig farmers from those other states, or even that California's anti-animal cruelty law just has to go away completely. And every single time they make one of these rulings, they're going to overturn some Supreme Court case from 10, 20, 50, 80, 100 or more years ago that entire legal systems in the United States of America were based on. Ask a lawyer in Texas what the current laws on the books that are valid about abortion in Texas are right now. The lawyer will tell you, well, there's two sets of laws that are valid right now since Roe versus Wade was overturned. There's Texas's trigger laws passed recently and pre-1940s abortion law. That's what they'll tell you. Because, the entire U.S. legal system is literally based on interpreting the law to the letter of the law. So if you make some court hearing from 1904 invalid, well, guess how many laws are going to go away and what's going to be left on the books. Okay, people, my prediction is that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to make rulings on every single case they see, the ones I mentioned and the ones I didn't mention, in the next year, that undermine and destroy the modern U.S. legal system. That is my prediction. And I am right. Just wait for Wednesday to happen. Wait to see how they rule on those court cases. Because they're going to rule the way I said they were going to rule. And I'm sorry, I read a few websites, and because I read so much information, I didn't fully retain all of it. So I may have forgotten to mention a few court cases that are really important that they're going to rule on in the next year. I will mention them in a future video. Thank you for watching this video. Please like this video, share this video, watch my other videos on all of my channels, including the ones that are not on YouTube. Subscribe to all of my channels. Comment on all of my channels. Thank you so very much for commenting. I love reading your comments. I love replying to your comments. And I love getting replies to my replies. Thank you so much for watching this. Share this with everybody. This is important information that must be gotten out urgently before Wednesday, especially by people.